Hey everybody, welcome back to Haman's Advice Forum. My name is Haman, and I'm going to tell you about why I don't live in my hometown anymore. And to be honest, when I was a kid, I never really thought about leaving California, and it became apparent to me as an adult that I had to. And when I went back to California, back to my hometown, it made me realize, oh wow, now I realized why I left, right? And when I was, throughout my years there, I think I was just really bummed out and mentally paralyzed that whenever I would ask people for help, or whenever I feel like they could, I needed something from them that I could really use their assistance, they would act always annoyed. Like, have you ever experienced that? And we're to the point where, like, let's say like you're really, really sick, or you're just on your deathbed, and people still won't do anything for you, which has happened to me. And I think there was a time in my life where I actually was sick on my deathbed, and when people did nothing for me, that's when I started writing off people. Like, okay, now if I'm almost dead and the people I know do absolutely nothing for me, I got to start writing them off and never deal with them ever again, right? Which is why it took me about, I don't know, 5 years after that incident just to have the courage to just kind of never deal with them again and move far away to somewhere I don't know. Because it's really disappointing when you grow up with a group of people and they do absolutely nothing for you and tell you how ungrateful you are because you're in their presence, and they're too busy doing things that have nothing to do with you, and you're just an annoyance to quote what they really want to do, which is in a way a bigger reflection of society, which is really sad. If you go to your average workplace, like let's say you go to McDonald's or you go to Walmart, or just basic retail or any sort of shitty job, they're gonna work you to death, and they'll get rid of you as soon as possible. And if you have needs, they'll act like they're annoyed and you're inconveniencing them. And that's pretty much how the majority of the population. That's their MO, or OM. What how do you call it? Operating method of operation, whatever you call it. And this is why most people are suffering. Like, look at the statistics. Just Google how many Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. And I guarantee you that if we live in a society where people were not annoyed that other people around them have needs, people would start taking care of each other and they wouldn't fall through the cracks. But people fall through the cracks all the time because they don't care about each other. And the worst part is a lot of people embrace this philosophy that I'm only going to care about myself. I want you to care about me, but if you have needs, that's too much inconvenience for me to care. And that's something I wish I had known, that's how most people, that's the way that they think. I really wish I'd known that when I was younger, because I just thought most people were sane and rational. And also, it doesn't really benefit you to think that way, because let's say like I create a culture or environment where, for example, let's say I'm the boss of a company, and every time one of my employees has an issue, I'm gonna try to take care of it right away. I may not take care of it right away, but at least they get a confirmation. They're aware that we're aware of the situation that they're going through. Maybe we send some more backup or support for help. And, when that employee, for example, experiences that kind of behavior, what's the likelihood they're going to work harder, or not just quit the company out of random and then you have to scramble to replace that employee, right? The likelihood, it may happen, but the likelihood is less, because that employee will value, that you go out of your way to take care of the needs of others when you're in a leadership position, right? And it's like the same thing if you're a landlord. Now, obviously, there are bad tenants out there, but how many tenants would be more appreciative if, let's say, they have a leak and the landlord just doesn't brush it off and says, okay, we'll take care of it, like, immediately, right? Because a leak could destroy a house, like a small little leak. But then if you look at how most of the population treats each other and their attitudes towards other people, they're going to always act annoyed that you have needs and you need things taken care of from them, right? So most people, they would actually be really bad bosses and landlords, or company bosses and landlords, because, like, let's say, like, if they were a landlord and one of their tenants reports like a leak, or, you know, maybe like AC went out, instead of landlord responding, okay, let's fix this, they would get annoyed that they'd have to spend a couple hundred or maybe $1,000 on a new appliance or fixing a leak, and just see their tenant as an inconvenience, rather saying, okay, you pay me, I provide you a service, and so I'm going to make sure we're going to keep up the high levels of, I don't know, service and quality. And if you have a problem, we're going to make sure you take care of it, so that, you know, by the time the rent is due, you want to give me your money because I provide you safe, affordable housing. And if there's a problem, you know, I'll take care of it. But most people wouldn't do that. And that's why there are a lot of bad landlords out there. But all right, so back to my point. So the things I experienced when I was younger is just a microcosm of what society is like. And so, you know, I'm always willing to put myself out there, even in my personal life. I'm going to say, hey, you know, communicate my needs and say, this is what I'm going through. And 9 times out of 10, I'm going to get people who are annoyed, right? I'm going to get people who are annoyed that I want to express who I am and communicate my values. And I want them to communicate who they are to me. But the fact is that most people don't have a set of values, or their values have a lot of holes in it. And they don't want to, let's say, feel like they're exposed when you ask them too many questions. And then, and you know, they're not community minded. You have to be, you know, you have to take care of yourself and think about yourself, but you have to think about others as well, because we live in a, quote, ecosystem. You know, every person has its part, and you have to do your part too. But most people won't do their part, and they wonder why, like, society is collapsing and people don't care about each other. And you see suicide rates rising. You know, people, you know, they say the economy is recovered, but people are suffering. You know, they're living paycheck to paycheck, struggling. And it's really easy to find these statistics. So it's not like a lack of information. It's just people and their attitudes, and they think doing the wrong thing is the right thing. You know, I'm going to focus on myself and not take care of the needs of others. You know, whenever someone asks me, like, for help, I'm always willing to get on it, because even if I don't get any money from it, and even if that person screws me, I know I'm building the habits to become successful, to build something successful. And I think it's this consistency of character that people don't master, right? And it's the same reason why I'm not overweight, because I've built the consistency of habits. You know, a lot of people, if you look at their lives, you know, they always talk about losing weight, and they're going to take shortcuts and do some fad diet, and they never lose the weight. Or if they lose the weight, they gain it back really easily, because they don't learn consistency in their values and habits. Whereas for me, a lot of people say, well, Eric, you look really young for your age. I could not tell that you were in your 30s. And that's because I learned consistency and good eating habits. And, you know, I don't stray away from that, or at least I try not to. So this is the Man. Here again with another video. And if you have any thoughts, comments, leave them below, and I'll see you guys next time.